It kind of feels as though every single day there's some sort of talk show host having a discussion with a representative of some animal rights organisation or a climate change organisation that also talks about animal agriculture. And though they do a really good job of branding these people as extremists, at the same time they do a terrible job of actually substantiating their claims and their arguments. Nigel Farage had a PeTA representative on his show, and he did a pretty terrible job in my opinion, but I will go through it and you can see for yourself. Full transparency, I have my issues with Nigel Farage and they extend far past the animal agriculture discourse, but we'll try and look past that for this video.
Oat milk, I mean, I've put it in my tea. It's horrible, isn't it?
Absolutely not. You've clearly just not tried the right one. I swear there is a plant milk out there for everyone.
And already highly offended. How could you say oat milk is horrible? Oat milk is based. And if anyone thinks soy milk is better, you're a liar. But as the PeTA representative goes on to say, yeah, there are loads of different kinds of these milks. You have like barista types, thick ones, creamy ones, less ones, unsweetened ones. You have this brilliant variation of these milks to try. If you're looking at it with the sort of attitude that Nigel has, oh, these bloody vegans trying to make milk, then you're probably not going to have a very positive experience. But if you did open your mind, Nigel, for once in your life, oopsie, oh, it's all coming out, then you probably would like it. I don't know. We saw in the last video attitudes that people have once they know something is vegan. You know, suddenly they're backtracking, suddenly they're thinking that it's this terrible thing. I don't know if this is something that's at play for Nigel also.
And that's what PETA's video is celebrating. It's farmers who are growing crops, who are growing the oat milk that so many people do enjoy having in their coffees. In fact, 50% of the population almost is ordering a plant milk in their coffee at coffee shops these days.
Again, I don't know why in the conversation about agriculture, people seem to forget that agriculture extends past animal agriculture. We don't have to farm animals in our animal agriculture. You know, crops exist. In fact, a lot of the crops are used to feed the animals in animal agriculture.
I mean, if you want to be vegan, that's up to you. Completely up to you. But what you're doing with the money that you've got, and you're a very well-funded organisation. I mean, you once gave Tony Blair £1 million towards his election campaign. You're a big, strong organisation. What you're trying to do is to change the lifestyle of the rest of us, isn't it?
Well, yes, you want other people to go vegan because you don't go vegan for you. You go vegan for the animals. It's entrenched in the philosophy that it's about someone who isn't you. It makes very little sense to be like, yeah, I'm just doing this for me. Never mind what anyone else does. No, if you see exploitation, if you see killing, it's not just enough to be like, oh, okay, I'm not doing it, so it's fine. It's bad that it happens, so you want other people to not be doing it.
Well, what we're trying to do is improve the future of Britain's farmers. You know, the situation is not looking great for the future of farmers at the moment because they're needing to adapt with the times more because the future is plant-based and it's time for farmers to turn their back on the heartbreak and violence of slaughter.
It's kind of sad that we need to frame it in a way that's kind of like, oh yeah, this is just about the people. Yeah, this is what it's about, before, you know, people have enough compassion to maybe not involve the animals. We're talking about, you know, trillions of animals being killed, and you would hope that would be enough, but apparently not. But yeah, there seems to be instances of animal agriculture suffering the consequence of our, you know, growing concern about climate change, our growing concern about animals and, you know, whether or not we should objectify them, as well as that zoonotic diseases and other problems that come as a result.
Butchering animals.
Hang on. You know, sheep meat price is actually quite good at the moment. There's a very large number of people in Britain eat sheep meat on a regular basis. I think the sheep farmers are having quite a good time.
Well, I'm not quite sure what your sources are for that one, but if we look at all the other aspects, the future of the planet, we know that farming animals is single-handedly contributing to some of the worst effects of climate change. We know that billions of animals are suffering, living miserable lives, being put to slaughter. We know that disease is rampant throughout all of these industries at the moment. Bird flu is, you know...
Bird flu? I've seen gannets, dead gannets, floating down the English Channel. Quite a distressing sight.
Well,
actually.
absolutely, and imagine
but
what it's like.
That has got nothing to do with turkey farming in East Anglia, has it?
Oh, well, just imagine what it is like for the farmers who have to witness this death and suffering day in and day out.
Is he acting like bird flu cases haven't been rampant? Like, okay, if you want to have a good debate with someone, denying reality is probably not the best way to do it.
It is a dirty and cruel business, and it takes a toll on these
So you're trying to
people's
protect
mental
the
health.
farmers?
Well, we're trying to back British farming, but farmers who are farming crops. That is what we're celebrating, and that is what the future is. We are going in a plant-based direction.
Farmers are proud. Dairy farmers are proud.
Them being proud doesn't mean there isn't a climate crisis. Them being proud doesn't mean these animals aren't being exploited and killed and aren't suffering. You can be proud while you're doing something very bad. I don't know what this has to do with anything. These dairy farmers could be really proud, but these animals are being artificially inseminated. They're having their babies taken away from them. They're being selectively bred to overproduce their milk, which leads to, issues for them that causes them discomfort and suffering. But don't worry, they're proud though. So debunked.
Dairy farmers are proud of their milk products, of their cream, of their butter, of their cheeses.
All of these products they're proud of, which can be obtained without exploiting and killing animals to do so. That would be obtained through agriculture, but not animal agriculture.
Well, a recent study revealed that 92% of farmers under 40 cited that poor mental health was one of the worst things that they were up against at the moment. And you can see why when they're having to mutilate animals on a daily basis, cutting off pigs' tails, chopping the beaks off chickens, having to witness all of these.
We have been farming animals for hundreds of thousands of years. And I know plenty of people in the farming community who look after their animals incredibly well.
Nigel has bottom tier responses, not even dispelling the issue or sometimes even not even addressing the issue. Looking after the animals well is interesting also. Like, we're talking about animals who are being bred into existence, being exploited, having their babies taken from them, being mutilated, and then having their lives taken away from them. Don't worry, guys. It doesn't matter if someone's being exploited and killed and they're being bred for a specific purpose that isn't in their best interest. As long as they're treated well during the process, that's absolutely fine. There's no problem at all. Treated well, though. If we put this in the context of another animal, say like a human or a dog, would you really be interested in how they treated them during the period of time? Or would you look at the fact they're being exploited and killed as a problem in the first place? Yeah, I think you would. Also, I had a look at the study that's being referenced here just to see what's going on, and it was on Farming UK. Poor mental health is biggest hidden problem facing farmers. 9 in 10 farmers under the age of 40 say poor mental health is the biggest hidden problem facing the industry today, according to an annual campaign aiming to put a spotlight on the issue. The worrying statistic is included in the 5th Mind Your Head campaign, which launches today to illustrate actions being taken to break down mental health barriers in agriculture. Campaign organisers from Farm Safety Foundation, known as Yellow Wellies, says mental health issues among farmers and farm workers are of growing concern, as they have a direct impact on farm safety. The charity's survey, published on Monday, 14th of Feb, shows that 92% of farmers under the age of 40 believe poor mental health is the biggest issue facing farmers, an increase from 82% in 2018. The industry, which continues to have the poorest safety record of any occupation in the UK, has experienced a particularly challenging past couple of years. During this period, farmers saw extreme weather conditions, poor harvests, supply chain shortages, and a global pandemic to contend with. In 2020 alone, there were a total of 44 suicides registered in England and Wales by those following the farming industry in 2020, according to the Office of National Statistics. Stephanie Berkeley, manager of the Farm Safety Foundation, said, "As an industry, I think it's time we deal with the issue of poor mental health head on. We need to talk about our feelings and let everyone living and working in farming know that it's completely okay to have feelings, good and bad, but it's also important to let them out." It found that the most common sources of stress recorded were regulation, compliance and inspection, COVID-19, unpredictable weather, and loss of subsidies. And upon looking at this abstract for a study that was published in 2013, the International Perspectives on Psychological Working Conditions, Mental Health and Stress on Dairy Farm Operators, from here it seemed that things like mentioned in the article, such as economic influences, responsibility, weather, government authorities, and here it also includes external stressors like disease outbreaks, and the recent negative societal attitudes to farming in general. I personally couldn't find anything kind of talking about their relationship to animals, the fact that they are, with these animals and knowing that they're going to send them off to be killed. Though I have seen anecdotal responses to this, particularly one that comes to mind is the farmer who was welling up thinking about how these cows, as their babies were being taken from them, a lot of the time they would be so stressed that they would bellow out for days, and that seemed to really upset him.
When you take a calf away from its mum, what is that process like?
But from what I can see, there hasn't really been an intimate look on how farmers feel about what they're doing to animals. So I don't know what can really be said about that. All I can really do is kind of speculate that it would be very mentally draining to have a bond with these animals, allegedly care so much for them, but do things that aren't caring. It's not caring to send individuals off to be exploited and killed. It's not caring to have them mutilated, to take their babies from them, to see them as products, as things that are going to make money for you. I don't know really, if that's kind of attributed to the fact that they don't feel like they can talk about their feelings. I don't know. So it's all kind of speculation at this point, unless someone has something that I haven't seen that would shed more light on it. That would be interesting.
So you literally want us to stop eating steak, to stop buying dairy milk.
Absolutely, but just look at what the consumer demand is at the moment. This is really extreme stuff.
I mean, you are a very extremist organisation.
Well, there's a lot of things that we've done throughout history that we are not doing today because traditions change, culture changes, society changes, and we know that savvy farmers are going to move with the times, and we've already seen it. We've seen farmers who decided that they didn't want to be complicit in that cruelty anymore, and they have sent their cows to a sanctuary instead.
I'm really sorry. To say that farmers are complicit in cruelty is quite an insult to many farmers that will be watching this programme, because they're not complicit. They are not complicit in cruelty. They care for their animals very, very well. It's not fair to insult farmers in that way.
Yeah, it can be insulting to say to somebody that they are complicit in cruelty, but if they are complicit in cruelty, then the fact that it's insulting isn't the important thing. It's the fact that they're complicit in cruelty. And it's probably good if they feel insulted by that, because it shows that there's some heart in there. It shows that they know, that's not a good thing to be complicit in cruelty. But what is cruelty? Enacting something that causes, harm physically, mentally, emotional to another individual. That's what farming is. It's causing harm to individuals, objectifying them, and, feeding them up until they're big enough to then send them off to do something cruel, which is to kill somebody. They are complicit in this, i.e. this is their entire business model. Their business entails cruelty to animals. Unless you can establish that it's not actually cruel to bring individuals into existence to exploit and kill them, I don't know how you're going to say that it isn't cruel. Are you going to say, okay, well, there's something different about these species of animals versus, say other species like human beings or dogs or cats? Like, what is it? Like, I don't see a relevant moral difference that establishes, okay, well, that isn't cruel in that context with these species of animals.
Definitely not insulting them, but how would you describe sending an animal who you'd reared from birth to a slaughterhouse where they're going to be strung up and shot through the head with a bolt gun? If that's not being complicit in something, I'm not quite sure what is.
Well, those animals wouldn't have existed had it not been for the meat industry.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have existed if my mother didn't give birth to me. This just did, okay? My mum could do whatever she wants to me. She could kill me off. She could exploit me. She could, hang me upside down for 30 days without water and just kill me off because she gave birth to me. Okay, that's how that works. If you bring someone into existence, you are justified in doing what you want. Yeah, that's exactly how it works, Nigel. You're so correct. I think it's clear that just bringing someone into existence doesn't justify then harming them. I think, I would hope that's quite clear. But when it comes to the vegan argument, suddenly these things that are otherwise quite clear that people wouldn't argue for suddenly become these arguments to bring out as if they really validate what someone's trying to say.
And they probably would have been glad for that because their lives have been so miserable.
So what do we do? Do we now just slaughter all the stock? Is that what you'd like?
No, of course not. We're not saying
not?
that this is something that is going to happen overnight. This is something that is going to take time. And of course, it will give farmers time to transition as well. This is all about supply and demand. And of course, the less people who are drinking cow's milk, the less cows that need to be bred in order to produce it. And therefore, they can turn to farming
This is
crops.
a real sort of North London, upper middle class.
I'm from Edinburgh.
wealthy, extreme view of the world.
Nigel is really showing what you do if you don't have an argument. Not actually address the arguments and then paint them in a way that others are going to view negatively.
That you want to impose upon everybody else. And I don't think everybody else wants it. And even the climate change argument. What is the point of any of this when the Chinese are building 80 new coal-fired power stations every year?
What's the point of being sustainable when some other country that we don't have power over won't do it? This is what a child would say, Nigel. I'm not going to do it if they're not going to do it. Are you for real right now? Like, how are you confident in what you're saying? You can't be, can you? I mean, you do say a lot of nonsense, so maybe you do feel confident in this, but you really shouldn't, okay? Because this is not good.
Well, I mean, what the Chinese are doing is out of my remit, but to think that you can't make a difference is not the right way to think about things. We all have a personal responsibility, and we can all make kinder choices by having plant-based milks, having vegan cheese, having a plant-based steak.
But we don't want to.
People like Nigel having a platform to spout these kind of appeal to futilities, this kind of defeatist rhetoric is really sad to me. As she says, we have the power to make positive change, and for some reason we want to like just bring it out to systems and pretend that we aren't part of them, pretend that we've got no power at all, which is just so ridiculous. People like Nigel sit right in the way of progress, and it's sad because you probably have a very small group doing purposefully nasty things, but then you have this massive group like Nigel that for some reason just sit in the way and think, oh no, we can't do anything, oh no, we're powerless, oh what's the point, they're not doing it, I'm not going to do it. What has happened? And he does this because why?
But we don't want to.
Oh, because he doesn't want to change. Okay, got you. So other people and other animals must suffer because Nigel can't be bothered. Okay, good one.
So many people do want it. You just don't want to yet, but there is still time. I wish I brought some things on for you to cry.
No, listen, I get the passion. I mean, I think it's crackers, but I get the passion, and you believe in this, and I know that. Final thought. Driven bird shooting and angling, are they to be banned as well?
Absolutely. Of course they're meant to be banned.
I rest my case. I rest my case. They are a small extremist clique, but they believe in what they believe in. And, to be fair, there's a growing number of people who are going vegan. There's a growing number of people who are going for these options, and I understand that. And I respect that, which is why we have civilized debate on these issues.
Yeah, she's based, and a growing number of people are indeed going vegan. And I'm glad these discussions are being had, and you know, it seemed for a little while it was quietening down a little bit, but I am seeing more and more of these conversations spurring up. But it is indeed a shame that the vegan side is being touted as extreme, when if anything's extreme, it's probably killing trillions of sentient beings. There are plenty of examples on my channel of things that we do to animals that, I mean, if Nigel had to sit and watch, would he really not call them extreme? But yeah, there's another bit of coverage on telly for you, and again, like a ding dong, I really just want to talk to these people and be like, what are you playing at? That would be brilliant. But for now, I'll just commentate on the debates. But thank you so much for watching. Do smash like if you enjoyed this video. I do hope you are well, and until next time, salads, I will see you soon.